Welcome back to another day in the vlog. We are currently at the Win. What is this, Encore? Anyways, we're going to be playing in a 2-5 session, I think, because that's the biggest game they have running right now. Should be a pretty good little time. Shouldn't be anything out of the ordinary. The only thing I'll mention is it's ungodly early, for me at least, or any poker player. It's 11:30. Either way, I appreciate you guys stopping by and showing the love as always. We're rapidly approaching 15,000 subscribers, and I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart for doing that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell if you're new, for all those lovely uploads will always hit your page. Let's hop in there, see how we do, and hopefully we fare okay. Also, shout out to Jim, or James French. He's the one who gifted me this hat at our meetup game at the Sahara. It is an oil... I guess it's like an oil hat or something like that. It's like an oil company from Alaska, where he's from. Yeah, if you guys ever want to say hi, like I said, Instagram is the best way to do it. Follow us on @closetobroke on Instagram. Yeah, if you guys see me in your area or whatever, or you guys would like to see me in your area, just message me on there. I'm constantly replying, so is BJ. So that's enough of the talking for the morning. Let's get out and play some poker.
And just like that, we find ourselves knee deep into the session. When we look down at pocket tens early on, middle position, I decide to raise it here to $20. It folds all the way to our friend here in the big blind, who decides to make the call. And we're off to a flop. The flop comes Jack, 10, 8, all diamonds. We flop a set. And let me tell you guys ahead of time, spoiler alert, this will not be the first time we flop a set today. We run absolutely well, but here's the story. The opposition decides to check to us. We're going to decide to c-bet here for nearly the size of the pot, considering how wet and dynamic this board is. I bet $35, and the gentleman decides to quickly make the call. The turn comes a pretty abysmal card, if I may say so myself. It comes a 7, putting a 4-liner to a straight. I decide to check it back when it's checked to me. The river comes a great card, though. It fills us up here. 8 of hearts. The villain decides to lead for $75. I go into the tank and I'm thinking, look, this gentleman, I'm just profiling here at the poker table. I'm assuming he can't make a big fold if he has a reasonable hand. So with that being said, I want to go pretty polar here. And it won't be the first time in the session I do this. When I'm playing in long sessions, I'm going to take every spot to be polar. So I raised to $525. And he pretty quickly decides to make the fold. We show it down, friendly game. We have some viewers of the vlog actually in this game, oddly enough. So pretty good time for us. Great little situation there. Unfortunate that he folded, but like I said, you got to be over betting in these spots. That'll be the lesson for today's episode, over betting pots. About an overbit later, we look down at pocket threes from the cutoff. We decide to raise to $20 once again. The button calls, and the big blind, who is a friend of the vlog, decides to make the call as well. And we are off to a flop. The flop comes King, Jack, 5, Rainbow. This is a board texture that's going to be definitely favoring my initial raisers c-betting range. So I'm going to decide to bet here $40. Only the big blind decides to make the call. The turn comes a 5 of spades, bringing a backdoor flush draw and pairing the bottom card. I'm going to go ahead and c-bet once again, continuing to rep the range story that I am telling. I can easily have kings, jacks, king, jack, ace, king, king, queen in my range here for value. And I'm going to have hands like queen 10 and these weird pairs right here like I have now for bluffs. So I decided to bet $125, and he pretty quickly decides to make the call again. The river comes a 6. The villain decides to lead here for $225. This is where the hand gets really interesting. I'm not sure what his leading range on the river looks like. I guess if he had a 5, I think that he'd be leading on the turn here, considering that is definitely a more favorable card for him to have. On this river, leading is really odd, and I feel like it's weighted to kind of inferior hands or weaker hands. So with all that being said, when you find yourselves in spots like this, you got to just kind of, grab the cojones and just put them on the table almost and make a big play when you think it's there to be made. All things being considered, I decide to raise to $700, really repping kings and jacks here, pretty much only that. Our opponent instantly calls with 5 deuce of hearts, so he actually turned trips there, and he told me that the only reason he played it is for Jamin Burton, because he likes 5-3 suited. So either way, we get owned there. He is a friend of the vlog, and like I always say, if I'm going to give it to anyone, if it's a friend of the vlog, I can't kill myself over it. Nice hand, brother. Unfortunate for us, but we're going to go ahead and continue trotting along. Looking at rebound from the last hand, we look down at ace king offsuit here. Under the gun limps here, we're going to go ahead and isolate him to $25. Folds all the way back to the limper, who decides to make the call, and we are off to the flop. The flop comes 9-3 deuce rainbow. When he checks to me, this is not a very good board for my hand, especially not for my range. He's going to have a ton of middling pairs here and a couple of weird spots that we're already ahead of. So I'm going to go ahead and check it back here. Look to improve on the turn. The turn comes just that. The doctor ordered a king, and it sure as hell does come out a king. I decide to bet $25, and he pretty quickly decides to make the call. The river's an interesting card. It does come a jack. Not my favorite card, and when the villain leaves for $50, I'm never folding, but it's just kind of like, ugh. Any other river, I can go for a bigger sizing, but I'm going to have to just make the call here. He shows king queen offsuit. We show the ace king for the scoop. Nothing crazy there, just showing you guys the ups, the downs, and the honesty of what it looks like to have a poker session in Las Vegas at the Wynn. One of my favorite properties. Let's go. Next hand. Quite a bit to go over in this next hand. It actually limps like 5 ways. When it gets to me on the button, we look down at the beautiful pocket eights. This can be used as an isolation, but it's kind of a weird spot. I don't feel like anyone's folding anyways, and I don't want to kind of overbloat or overplay my hand in this situation. I think I can justify a 3-bet in larger games or an isolation raise in larger games, but I think in this instance we'll be just okay. We can build a pop post flop anyways. We go 5 ways to the flop, which comes 6, 8, 9 with 2 clubs. I told you guys, there's just no way. There's just no way we're gonna lose today. You know, no matter how many bluffs we put out there, we're gonna find a way to win. And even better than that, Under the Gun, which is a friend of the vlog, decides to lead for $30. The older gentleman decides to make the call. We're on the button here. We've got to raise the price of poker. Way too many draws. Super wet board texture, especially for all the limps that's gone on. We raise it to $150. It gets back to the Under the Gun player, who tanks for quite a while before deciding to make the fold. The older gentleman decides to make the call. The turn comes a deuce of spades, the best turn card I think there is, an absolute brick. The OMC decides to check it once again. Considering our opponent only has about $170 left in his stack, it's about time that we get this money here in the middle. So I jam $170 effective. That's what he has remaining in his stack, and he pretty quickly decides to make the call. The river's the deuce of clubs, so even if you had a flush, the boat is there. So we show our pocket eights for the second top boat, and he shows king 9 of diamonds. Unfortunate for him, top pair is no good here as we scoop a monster pot. If you folks are enjoying the content, make sure to click the like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bells if you haven't already. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful holiday season. A ton of more action to come. In this next hand, there are fireworks ready to go off by this point, and we haven't even come close to summer once again. Still enjoying the winter. Anyways, Under the Gun decides to raise to $20, plus 1 calls, and then he gets over to the cutoff, who decides to make it $90. This player has actually been pretty active in the 3-betting streets, but when we look down at ace king offsuit, there is no chance in hell that I'm going to let this opportunity slip me by to have a beautiful situation where we are on the button and we can apply maximum pressure. I'm going to go ahead and make it $325, looking to get as much money in the middle as we can so we can run out the board all 5 cards if possible. Not afraid to get it all in here. I think that is something that you just got to deal with sometimes. Anyways, Under the Gun decides to fold, plus 1 folds as well. And the $90 3-better decides to fold. Just goes to show that this table is actually pretty fun and there are some spots to be had. As the session continues to go along, we're going to keep rebuilding and hopefully get back some of that we punted with 3s. session is starting to progressively get a little better when we find ourselves in another unbelievable spot. The gun +1 limps. Gentleman directly to his left decides to isolate to 25 chips. We have jack 10 of hearts. There's no way in hell I'm going to be folding this in position. So I go ahead and make the call. The limper decides to make the call. The big blind makes the call. And we're off to a flop 4 ways. The flop comes king, queen, 7, 2 spades, 1 heart. The villain decides to c-bet for a little bit of a larger sizing of $80. I go ahead and make the call. The limper and the big blind fold here. The turn comes a 6. Villain decides to bet one more time for $180. I'm gonna go ahead and think this over for a bit. This is again a very large sizing, and the question now becomes, okay, beyond the fact that our direct odds are X and Y, what are the chances of us getting all of the money in the middle or a huge sum of money in the middle on the river? That's the question that is now posed that we have to find the answer to. You know, it's one thing to get there. It's a whole nother thing to get paid off when you do. And that's why if you're not getting the direct, good, proper price to draw here, it's actually okay if you think that you're going to get paid off on the river, or there's a large likelihood that you will be. All things considered, I feel like if I hit one of my cards here, I'm going to get paid off. And as opposed to feeling like I only have 6 outs because there's the flush draw out there, I doubt my opponent is double barreling this large with just a flush draw. All that being said, I decide to make the call, and the river comes like for some good vibes. 3, 2, 1. An unbelievable 9 of hearts. My opponent is a little hesitant here, and he decides to check it over to me. Now I start thinking to myself, what is the proper sizing? I need to go massive here. I've got to have some kind of crazy spots here. I could easily have ace 10 of spades, something of the sort, a missed flush draw in this situation. So I need to go huge here and polarize myself for the instances where I have the nuts. This is that spot here. I make it $825 to go, and my opponent is in obvious dismay. He goes deep within the tank, and we've said this many times. I'm not joking. I should throw a picture up on the screen by this point. California, gas is now $6. You know, if you're going to be in the tank, it's going to cost you quite a bit of money. $825 to be exact. All that being said, my opponent thinks about it forever before doing a pump fake, bringing it back, going up for a cartwheel, and eventually making the call. Oh my gosh. We showed down our nuts, and he is not happy about seeing our nuts here. He folds, a little bit disgusted with the situation, but look, there's no saying sorry. I would say sorry if he was a subscriber of the blog, to be honest, but anyways, unbelievable situation, great run out, and like we said, the implied odds were there. Obviously, his hand was strong enough to make the call on the river, which makes it that much more worth it. Let's go. If you thought the last hand was ridiculous, somehow this one ends up being more than that. Under the gun decides to raise to $20. Middle position makes the call, and we look down at ace queen of hearts. What a sight to see in this situation. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet here to $90. It folds over to the under the gun player, who decides to make the call, and the middle position player calls as well. We are off to a flop, and that flop comes ace queen 6 with 2 diamonds and a club. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you guys, you cannot make this up. This is an unbelievable sight. We are running as great as you possibly can at this point. When it checks over to me, I'm going to go ahead and bet here. I don't need to go for a super small sizing, given the situation is that there is flush draws out there. There are Broadway cards out there. Every ace is going to make the call, and king, queen, queen, jack, those kind of hands are going to probably call as well. I bet $180, and in an unbelievable situation, friend of the vlog here decides to raise to $420. It folds back to the middle position player, who pretty quickly decides to make the fold. When it gets over to me, not much to do here besides get the money in the middle right now. Ton of draws out there. There's no reason to let him off the hook here, so I make it $2,000 effective to go. He pretty quickly decides to make the call. He announces that he has 2 pair. I feel like he probably has ace 6. I show ace queen, and he shows ace queen as well, but he has the queen of diamonds. He does have the free roll. The turn comes an absolute blank, and the river comes a blank as well. a monstrous pot that is just going to get chopped. I mean, everybody does love a chopped pot, but man, that was a roller coaster of emotions, to be fair. Luckily, I'll never complain about chopping a pot with a friend of the vlog. And this gentleman is a sweetheart, and I like him quite a bit. So you guys will hear more of him at the end of the vlog, actually. We have a little cameo from our friend, so all good. Let's get on to the next hand.
You got a lot of records again,
By this point of the session, we've built ourselves a beautiful tower of chips. Looking to build ourselves a castle, though, a Taj Mahal of sorts, considering I am Indian. We look down at 7-8 of diamonds here from early position. Gonna go ahead and bump up the price of poker to $20. Next to act makes the call. The gentleman to his direct left thinks that is too cheap, and he decides to make it $80 to go. It folds all the way back to me here in early position. I'm gonna go ahead and make the call, and I'm the only one that does, as we go to a flop. The flop is Queen 7-6 Rainbow. Outstanding flop for our hand. We're only losing 2 overpairs and Ace Queen. I don't think this gentleman's going to be 3-betting with a hand like Queen Jack or King Queen, but I could be wrong. Considering I am in early position, I should have a stronger range, so he's going to have a little bit of a stronger range, I think, in his 3-betting arsenal. But all that being said, he decides to bet $110, and we make the call. The turn comes a 5, adding us an open-ended straight draw. We go ahead and check here. I believe at this point that I'm ready to go for the check raise. I can lead out here sometimes, but I think it's a little better to just make the check raise to get maximum fold equity when he does decide to bet. After some time, he actually decides to check it through, so we're off to a river. The river does come the absolute worst card on the deck. It comes a king. I go ahead and check, and the OMC goes deep within the tank. I'm ready to fold my cards by this point. But unfortunately, he does not find the trigger to pull. He actually checks it back. I show 7-8, and he mucks his cards. Very juicy pot coming our way. Very happy with the situation that just evolved. And let's move on to the next hand, which is literally the very next hand. We haven't even got a chance to put these chips away. The next hand is coming around. It's being dealt out. I'm putting these chips away. When we look down at King 9 of clubs here from early position, gonna go ahead and continue to apply the pressure. I have a very great read on the table dynamics. Make it $20. The gentleman to my left instantly calls. The big blind makes a call as well, and we're going 3 ways to the flop. The flop comes Jack 10-4 with 2 clubs. The big blind actually, oddly enough, leads here for $40. I'm gonna go ahead and make the call. Next to act decides to call, and we're off to a turn card. The turn comes a 4. Big blind leads once again for $60, and again I'm gonna make the call here. I have way too many outs to make the fold. I have a straight flush draw, an over. Like I said, there's no reason we're gonna make the fold here. We're gonna go ahead and make the call. The river comes the deuce of clubs. Yahtzee, we get there once again. The best part is our opponent decides to lead here for $100. Don't need to go super large here, but I do think I have the leeway to go pretty decently large, I guess. I make it $290, so about a 3x river size raise. He thinks about it for a little bit before deciding to make the call. Unfortunate for our friend here that he is not going to have the best hand. We get there once again. Obviously, we're running unbelievably well, but I'm super satisfied with most, if not all, of our river decisions. We're playing aggressive, and when we get there, we're penalizing our opponents by going really large. I think by this point, a lot of you guys are going to be saying the same thing. Hey, Kieran, show some losing hands. I mean, I wish I had losing hands to show, but we've been running unbelievably well to this point. When we look down at pocket 10s here from the button, we have a limp from under the gun, so we're going to go ahead and isolate him to $30 with position. The big blind decides to make the call. The limper calls as well. As the flop comes, Jack, 10, deuce, rainbow. I'm telling you, I cannot make this up. Our third set of the day. We're running as pure as the sun here. I'm going to go ahead and bet really large. I bet $60, to which the big blind instantly calls. The limper folds. We're going to a turn card, which comes the queen of diamonds, bringing the backdoor flush draw. I'm going to go ahead and play this uber aggressive. I'm going to go ahead and jam, having our opponent covered with about $450 in his stack. Now, you may be asking, you're never going to be called by worse. That, maybe that's true, I guess, but I want the jam to maximize fold equity when I have hands that are bluffs. And when I have huge hands like this, I want hands like ace queen, queen jack, queen 10, jack 10, flush draw, open-ended pair and a flush draw, or a pair and a straight draw, whatever. Those hands are all going to have to make the call here, or at least they're going to want to make the call, and I'm giving them the incorrect price to draw. Anyways, our opponent goes deep within the tank before inevitably making the call. Oh my goodness, another monstrous pot. The river comes, the deuce of spades. We scoop a monstrous pot when we show our set. I think out of the corner of my eye, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I saw that he had ace queen. All things being considered, I feel really satisfied with the way we played the hand. Again, sometimes you just got to overbet. Just close your eyes and pray, I guess. But amazing spot, as you guys saw earlier. Maybe our bluff paid off, and now our image is looking like we're an absolute lunatic and going for huge spots. But all that being considered, unbelievable session. In this next hand, I'm in the early position with ace king offsuit. I make it $20. Next to act makes the call. Button calls, the cutoff calls, and we're off to a flop 4 ways. And it comes as dry as it comes ace 6-6 with 2 diamonds. Only a flush draw really out there. I decide to c-bet for $50. Next to act decides to raise me to $150. Everyone folds. I decide to make the call, and we're off to a turn, which comes the 5. Not a lot changing here. I'm going to go ahead and check, and the action actually checks through. The river comes a 3. Not again, much has changed here. And when he decides to check that turn, I'm almost positive I have the best hand, and I need to be going for value. So I decide to bet $350 here, unloading the clip. The villain decides to call pretty quickly, showing ace 10 of hearts. Unfortunately, that is not good enough to beat ace king. So yet another very large pot going in our direction. Cannot complain about this. This session is one that you probably tell your kids about because you just run good the whole time. Anyways, that does it for this hand. Let's go to the next one, which is the last one of the session. This session has already been a lot to break down, but last hand of the session, we look down at king 9 of clubs on the very next hand. We decide to raise it to $20. It folds all the way to the small blind, who makes a call. The big blind makes a call as well, and we're off to a flop. The flop comes unbelievable. 9-8-3 with 2 spades. Great flop for our hand as we flop top pair. It checks over to me. I decide to bet $30. Both players decide to make the call, and we're off to a turn card. The turn comes a 4. Not changing a great deal here, if not pretty much nothing besides some kind of random 2 pairs. I'm going to go ahead and bet $80 when it's checked over to me. Only the big blind decides to make the call, and we're off to a river, heads up. The river comes a deuce. When it checks over to me, I think this would be a little too thin to go for value. It might be fine, but by this point, I think that I'm ready to just kind of get the hell out of here and get some sleep, considering we have very little in our system already. So I go ahead and check it back. I show king 9 here, and our opponent instantly mucks. Yet another great little pot to go in our direction to pretty much be the cherry on top of an unbelievable session, to say the least.
Alrighty, folks, just wrapping up the session, hanging out with a friend. What was your name again, brother?
David.
David, such a pleasure. Thank you again for subscribing. He killed me with the pocket 3s hand. He's the one that destroyed me. I bluffed him, but he's a killer. He just made some crazy merge bets on the river. I'm going to pretend like it's all because he learned it from me. I'm going to take all the credit. You're killing it, brother.
Hey, man.
Thanks for everything. Bless you, man.
On the vlog, dude.
Thank you again.
Did me wrong, I can't live. Wore my heart on my sleeve. We fight, it's all too much. You said I'm just too hard to love. So far gone, but I can't live.
Well. I tell this story every time, but just to remind you guys, just in case you happen to forget or you don't believe me, I repeat, never miss a vlog. So anytime I play a poker session, it's recorded. Good, bad, ugly. The point is, you guys get to see it all unfold, whether I'm going crazy or there's spots that make things good, yada, yada, yada. Whatever the case may be, my job is to be honest with you guys. And today is no different. You know, the good, bad, and the ugly. You guys saw in the last session, we absolutely smashed at the Resorts World. We played last night, and we absolutely crushed it. This time around, one of the craziest sessions we've played to date, at least for a 2-5 game. I mean, I can't remember a time where I won like 600 big blinds in a 2-5 game. There was not even a straddle. I was the only person straddling. So now we are off to the Resorts World, which is that way. We're gonna go ahead and get checked in, have some food, get the day going, because it's not usual for us to get in these ridiculously early sessions. Appreciate you guys and the constant support as always. What a crazy session. I was in for 2,000, out for 51.48. So pretty decent little profit in a 2-5 game for like 2.5-3 hours of play. But I guess that just kind of happens with my playstyle. I'm gonna push the envelope and overbet every time I can. And I forgot, I haven't played 2-5 in so long, man. People just have a tendency to make calls. I love you guys, and you know, obviously I feel great because I won. But whether I win or lose, happy to have you guys here. And more importantly, I'll see you guys soon. Make sure to check out the merch. There's a little bit of stuff left if you guys haven't checked it out already. And yeah, love you guys. I'll see you guys soon. And yeah, keep coming back for more awesome content. Like, comment, subscribe, share, turn on the notification bell. You know what the deal is. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.